Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschachari Shari Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you for coming today. It's very cold weather, right? For this summary overview of the first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad-Gita, entitled Observing the Armies on the Battlefield of Kurukshetra. Please do make sure you have your materials. We'll be, again, using these extensively. We found that the more we're involved, the more we learn, and we have information on that. So the first thing we'll do is we'll put on the screen what our objectives are for today. You have that folder, Abhay, the one with the chart list for Kurukshetra, and what are the 4 main things we will be accomplishing today. Okay, that's not it. That's it. It's where we have the topic slides. Okay, do you have that in there? No? No. Okay, where do we have the topic slides? The picture ones? The new ones, okay? We have the objective one in there. All right, that first one. Here we go. All right, please take a look at the screen. Karbajana Prabhu, do you have a study guide? You have a study guide? No. Everybody's required. No, required. No, you don't chant during class. I'm really strict about this because hearing doesn't produce much of a result. And if one person sets a bad example, then everybody says, why him, not me, right? Okay, so please participate. These are different. These are studies. These are not just listening produces 20% at the most. So reading only 10. So you have to be active. All right. Title today is what? Everybody, loudly. Yeah, observing the armies on the battlefield, Kurukshetra. Go like this. Okay. And what chapter? 1. We're starting again. I think this must be about the 15th time, or no, I don't know how many times through the... Okay. Presentation topics. These are what we will be accomplishing today, hopefully, by Krishna's grace. The first will be a dramatic setting, according to how any play is written. Now, this chapter is the dramatic setting for the rest of the book. So we want to know, if we have a play, how do we do a dramatic setting? All right? Because it's called that, setting the scene. Number 2, we will have a chapter overview. What will we have? Chapter. Yeah, right. We go through the chapter and an overview. Number 3, what will we have? Loudly. A historical overview, right. Proof that this is history and not fantasy or mythology. We accept that, but many people will not. So we have to have the scientific evidence that this is historical. So we will be doing that, number 3. And finally, since this chapter and then the book, Gita, ends, where Arjuna agrees to fight, the 4th topic, we will have some old slides, but they still give you an idea of a quick summary overview of what? Yeah, the 18-day battle, day by day. You know, and you'll see back and forth and back and forth. Back and forth, back and forth. So those are the 4 topics we hope to cover today in this overview. We have actually everything's an overview except for the first one. All right, everybody set? So now let's find out, if we were going to write a play, what would be the requirements? Because in the Bhagavad Gita, as well as in the Bhagavatam, Krishna speaks in a very dramatic setting. This is the greatest massacre ever. 640 million people died in 18 days. That's a massacre. And it was a bloody one. And he also appears in the Bhagavatam in the 7th chapter of the 1st canto when the Brahmastra has been released. And it has to be foiled by Arjuna and also ultimately by Krishna. So the Lord doesn't come into our appearance, it doesn't appear at a tea party. It's very dramatic. He wants everybody to notice what he has to say, right? What could be more setting? So let's take a look at how the red curtain. We're about to, if we were to write a play, what would we have to have as the setting? All right, here we go. You have the red curtain. Okay, this is also an old slide. This is a narrative formula. What is it? A narrative formula. This is your formula. If you're asked to make a rasgula, I have to have certain ingredients. If I have to write a setting, I have to have an ingredient. The first thing I need to know is what's my title? What's my title? All right, observing the armies where? Battlefield of Kurukshetra. Right. Now, the setting will be the place. Where is it? Kurukshetra. Is there such a place? Yes. It's not mythology. It's there. We'll be taking a visit, too. And you have to have characters. Obviously, you have a drama, characters. So you have to have two kinds. How many? You have to have protagonists and antagonists. What kind? Protagonist. Right, because if there's no drama, what's the point of, it has to be exciting. If everybody's agreeing, that's like the Upanishads. You don't even know who's speaking and there's no dialogue, and it's a little harder to get into it. But in this, you get opposing parties. So you have to have a protagonist, and who's the protagonist in this side? Pandavas, right? And who's the antagonist? The Kauravas. Now, basically, they're all Kauravas, but in this chapter, Dhritarashtra separates his family from the Pandavas. They're not part of us. All right, now you have to have the conflict. What's the problem? What's the problem, everybody? It's a fratricidal war. That's heavy. That means it's between family members. It's not just one country and another, and, who knows how people, or sometimes when you'll get the demigods versus the demons, right? You have to have both, right? You have an exciting, you notice the Bhagavatam doesn't talk about sages meditating too much. You don't know what's going on, except when they break their trance. So you have to have excitement. Fratricidal war, but it's not only external war, it's also an internal conflict. With whom? Who? Arjuna, right. It's an internal conflict. And what's his internal conflict? Anybody know? He doesn't want to fight. I don't want, my teacher, my grandfather. It's a fratricidal war externally, but internally, he is faced with this challenge. And the resolution will be at the end of the Bhagavad-Gita. You have to have a resolution. It has to come to a conclusion. That's true of any manuscript. You have a topic, you have a development of arguments, and then there has to be a conclusion. The problem with material life is there's no goal, there's no conclusion. Just repetition of birth and death. All right, so that's that. All right, so that is our introduction. And that is what we'll be doing. Now, before we go any further, it looks at, we sort of wait till everybody gets assembled. We will recite, because Arjuna's problem is he's misidentifying with the body as the self, right? And that's the problem. He's not identifying the real self, because that would mean he'd have to be in line with what Krishna wanted. So what we do at the beginning of our classes, and you have it in your study guide, right? Please turn to the prayer. We say a prayer that's recited, and we say it to the Gita, and we're going to recite it together to purify our consciousness of that misidentification. When we face a deity, we have to admit who we are. Are we these bodies? Are we these minds? No. We are transcendental. All right. The prayer is the last page of your, it's handy for you. And it's quite, every time you read the Gita, it would be nice to remind yourself. The Gita is, studying the Gita is worship of Krishna. Right? It's not just, it's actually puja. And we have to say who we are. So what I will do, and you slide along with your little finger like this when you're reading. Okay. This is the secret actually for effective reading, because the mind otherwise moves like this and that, and Kali Yuga especially. So you slide as you read, like as though you're underlining. Underscore with your little finger. Your index finger is what they do, but that's what devotees use their little finger, okay? So everybody got his flute finger up? All right. All right, so I will read a line, and you repeat the line loudly. Okay, this is our sloka, because we don't have a sloka for this. It was too big. We have 46. I'm not a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra. What are we? What, say it, read it. Everybody? I'm not a brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, or sannyasi. And everybody agreeing with this? Yes. Okay, that's good. You're more advanced than most people out in the world. What am I? What am I? I'm the eternal servant. Of the servant. Of the servant. No, it's 3 times. Of Krishna. The master of the gopis. Padyavali 63. Okay, that's what we chant in front of the deity. Anybody do deity worship or you have a deity, this is a handy prayer to have, even if you have a household deity. Nice prayer, huh? All right, now, let us read the next. And the first line, take your pen and circle the last word on the first line. We make everybody do that. What's the last word on the first line? Louder? Inimical. Oh. Now we have to admit our problem. We have to be honest before we face the deity. By nature, I'm Krishna's eternal servant. But by misfortune, I have been inimical toward Krishna from time immemorial. Is that something to be proud of? No, humility is the first principle of approaching the Lord. Thus, identifying with my temporary material body, I have been continuously rotating in the cycle of samsara, suffering the threefold miseries of material existence. Is that true? Would you like to have a quick humility exercise? Are you sure? It's heavy. Everybody do this? Kauravas, you know? Say with me, this is my prison suit. This is my prison suit. This is my criminal record. This is my criminal record. Humility. Remember that one. I wasn't sure you were ready for that, but it's the truth. Everybody? Just always remind yourself, because we tend to be forgetful. Now by the causeless mercy of my beloved spiritual master, I fully realize that I am Krishna's eternal servant. I'm an individual spiritual being, completely separate from my gross and subtle body. Unless we understand, live, and act on that, we will transmigrate. Critical. Prabhupada said, unless you give up misidentification with the body, you have to have separate interest and suffer more at birth and death. That's why we're saying this prayer. We're not just doing this to fill up the time space. By the mercy of my spiritual master, I have obtained the good fortune of serving him and assisting him in his eternal service. To the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Radhashama Sundar, in the blissful spiritual realm of Goloka Vrindavan. We chant in the morning, Nikunja Yuno. Does everybody like this prayer? Keep it by your Gita. Okay, and don't forget the word inimical. And don't forget that you are separate. You're spiritual. Somebody asks you, I'm an eternal servant of Krishna. That's why we're all here. Would we be here for any other reason? No. Okay, lovely prayer. All right, let us go back to our program because we go back and forth, right? Did you all like that exercise? Pretty heavy. Okay. All right, now, this is the picture we had with that. And let us now do an exercise of gratitude. Srila Prabhupada writes in the Nectar of Instruction in the preface that he said, advancement, listen carefully, advancement in Krishna consciousness is dependent on the, he said, attitude of the performer. Attitude. So what's our attitude when we do something? Because that will determine the level of our advancement and our progress. Okay, so let us be grateful for these things today, all right? Are we grateful that we are in Vrindavan? Yes. Say thank you, Krishna. And thank you, Prabhupada. Are we grateful we're in the Krishna Balaram temple? Yes. Thank you, Krishna. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada. Are we grateful we're sitting here in Prabhupada's house in his library? Yes. Is that special? Yes. Yeah, he left his body in this next room. How many people are sitting here? Out of 7 billion on the planet. Are you fortunate? Yes. Are we grateful? Yes. Let us say thank you, Krishna. Thank you, Krishna. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada. Now let's see, this is place. Now let's see where we are in time. Should we be grateful for the time span? Next. Time frame. 10,000 years is Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. Is that very much? 10,000 years? Well, compare it to what? 8,600,000,000? That's one day of Brahma. Lord Chaitanya sometimes doesn't come. Are we grateful that we're in this time frame? Yes. It's not very long comparatively, is it? It's not even a flash. One day and night for Lord Brahma. Should we lose this opportunity? Do we want to miss it? Do you want to gamble with it? You want to wind up in the heavenly planets to come back when it's over? No. That'll happen. You have to stay up there 10,000 years. They pray to come here. Only human body can get out. Demigods can't. Animals can't. Are we fortunate? Yes. Thank you, Krishna. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada. Okay. Any others? And what should we say now? Thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for what? Very good. That's our gratitude exercise. First we had our identity exercise. Now we have to be grateful. So we don't take anything cheaply or for granted. We don't know where we go. It could be any minute. And once the door closes, you get the final grade. Let's hope you all make the destination. All right, let's go back to our program now. We will do the retention checklist, okay? These are the things that you must know. And we've tried to make it even simpler now than before. So on the cover of your study guide, you have the title. You all know that now, and you know the chapter. And you know that these are study resource materials for you to keep. We even put them in protection sheets so you can save them in a folder. All right, here we go. We will now fill in the blanks. This you must know, and we have made it much easier this time. I call it my billboard approach. What's the chapter title? Everybody? Observing the armies on the battlefield of? Okay, put a check mark. I walk out of here, I can say that. I can preach it, I know it. Chapter number, what's the number? 1. Check that, you know that now. So you've got 2 right on the exam. What's the chapter size? 46 verses. Now we have a backup on that. There are 46 letters in the Sanskrit alphabet. I always try to have some other link in case you forget. 46 letters, 46 verses. So when we say these chapters, we say 146. What do we say? 146. Right. What's the section of the Bhagavad-Gita we are in? Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga. Are you marking your sheet? Yes. No. I see you. Look, I have eyes on the back of my head, what to speak on the front. My students used to tell me this. They said, Mataji, you have eyes on the back of your head. Kauravas, it's not time to chant 74 million rounds, okay? Karma Yoga. Does everybody know we're in the first section? Yes. Loudly? Yes. Okay, check. So I could make an introductory speech and say the first chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita is entitled "The Battlefield, Observing the Armies in the Battlefield," etc. It has it's chapter 1, 46 verses. It's in the Karma Yoga section, number 1. All right, now we have 4 topics. So we have an easy way to do it. These slides, we've tried to make these. In fact, that's why we're running late today. We just need today. This is easy, isn't it? How many topics here in this chapter? 4. And we will do signals. You've got an image. You've got it simple down to 1 word. You always boil it down to 1 word. And we have numbers. 13, 7, 7, 19. And we have ways to remember those too. So you know the topics, you know the size, you know the number, you know it. What's the first one? War. Do it. What is it? War. How many verses? 13. Yeah, 13 witnesses. What's the second topic? Signs of victory. How many verses? 7. 7 sages. Saptarishis. What's the third topic? Yeah, Krishna as Bhakti-Vatsal. How many verses? 7 mothers. So we have 7 rishis. So many things that are 7. 7 rishis, 7 mothers. And for a long time I could think 19. I looked it up and I thought, how could I forget? 19 foot marks on Krishna's feet. Can you remember that one? Yes. Arjuna has what? Doubts. How many verses? 19. Does that make that easy? No? 19? All right, let's do our signals. Number 1, what's this? War. What's number 2? What's number 3? Vatsal. And what's number 4? Okay. 4, and you got the size. And what are the numbers? 13, 7, 7, and 19. All right. Now you know the breakdown. Do these slides help? They're easier. We try to make them very, very simple. All right, now let's start going down the harder material. We do a numerical index. I see 1, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. So we have slides for that. Well, who's number 1? Always. Who is it? Krishna. Rishikesh, master of the senses. That's the key point in this chapter. Unless your senses are serving Rishikesh, you'll not be happy, and you'll rotate birth and death. Rishikesh, everybody know that one? You know who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is? Okay, I hope so. Number 4, the second one is 4. 4, what is it? 4 analogies. Now, these are coming from the purports. Most of these points are in the purports. All right, let's find out what the analogies are. And I have a picture. Number 1 is what? Plants. Number 2 is? Birds. Number 3 is? Cook. And number 4 is? Lord Ram. Now, what does that mean? Okay. Battle of Kurukshetra, they want to take out the unwanted plants. Kurukshetra is field, right? Kshetra Gya is who we are. We are the knower of the field. This body is a field. So this battle is on a field, and they want to pull out the unwanted plants. Krishna's there, and the unwanted plants are the Kauravas. In another verse, Krishna's looking at the enemy. He said, oh, these people are all against me. They must be birds of a feather. Have you ever heard that one before? It's a saying, birds of a feather. People who are alike flock together. If they're nice people, you'll see nice people together. If they're not so nice people, they judge a person they'll judge you by your association. If you have good association, they'll say, he must be a nice person. If you hang around with bad association, what will they think? Yeah, that's what you're attracted to. Birds of a feather. Now, in another verse, Arjuna doesn't want to fight. And our Prabhupada compares it to someone who is not hungry. Does he want to cook? Yeah, when you're not hungry, you have a hard time wanting to cook. So he said, yeah, verse 31, purport. And he says, Lord Ram was actually very, very gentle person, but he was also courageous. So a devotee is like that. Prabhupada says he's not one-sided. He's not just humble. If he has to, right. Arjuna, this is no time to be weak. You're a Kshatriya, you have to be what? Courageous. You have to fight. A Kshatriya is going to fight. He's not a Kshatriya. Okay, so what are the 4 analogies again? Plants, birds, cook, and Lord Ram. Yeah. He's very kind. He's a saint. But he's also courageous. He will kill. Arjuna has to kill. I think Arjuna killed almost most of the world. Killed a lot of people. And still he's a devotee? Okay, did this help? Okay, let's take a look at the next one. Conch shells. I actually have the number wrong. Okay, but we have it correct here. Oh, Arjuna's doubts. This is good. This is a good one. 4. How many? 4 doubts. Okay, the first one, do this. Compassion. He's crying. He's literally crying on the battlefield. What's the second one? Right, how can I enjoy my kingdom if everybody's dead? And the third one is what? And the final one is what? I don't want to destroy a dynasty. I'll go to hell forever. So let's do the signals. What's the first one? Everybody? Do we see everybody? Yeah, compassion. You'll help you remember. And what's the next one? How can I enjoy? That's what everybody wants to do. And what's the third one? Fear of sin. Sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. And what's the fourth one? Destruction of a dynasty. I would never book you for the play. What an actor, he'd be up on stage just chanting. Okay, destroy a dynasty. Everybody got that one? Those are the 4 doubts. Now, in the next chapter, Krishna defeats every one of them. Except really the destruction of a dynasty. He sort of sidesteps that one. But the other 3, he says, sorry, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. All right, next. Conch shells, there are actually 6. So I have that wrong there. Krishna's is called what? Panchajanya. I forgot to bring the book. I have a picture of the actual conch shell. It's in a museum. It's in a temple. And Arjuna's is what? Devadatta, right? And who? Bhima? Pondram. Okay, Panchajanya, Devadatta, Pondram. And who's Yudhishthir's? Ananta Vijaya. And Nakula? Sugosha. And the last one is Sahadev. And what's his? Right, Mani Pushpaka. All right. So you've got them there. Try to make sure you know those now. We won't spend too much more time. But it's actually, should be 6. So correct the 5, put a circle around it, and above it put 6. And correct the 5. 6 conch shells. 6 aggressors. If anybody does any of these things, you can kill him immediately and not have to suffer reaction. So don't do any of these, I recommend. What's the first one? Louder. Poison giver. Right. Poison giver. Someone tries to poison you, that's not a good thing. What's number 2? Someone comes to set fire in your house. Is that a nice thing? All these happened to the Pandavas. All this, they gave Bhima poison. They set fire to the house. Attacks with weapons. Attacks with weapons. Plunders your riches. They took everything. Number 5, what do? They usurped the property. They wouldn't even give back the land. And what else? Kidnaps your wife. Draupadi was dragged out of the assembly. Okay, so the 6, number 1 is what? Poison. 2, fire. Number 3, weapons, attack. What's 4? Comes and take your money. 5, comes and take your property. And number 6, kidnaps your wife. Now, if you're a lady, that's not a problem. But if you're being kidnapped, it's a problem. Okay? 7 signs of victory. And it could be argued there are even more. Are we ready for the 7 signs of victory? Yes. Okay, 7. Here we go. This is explained in the purports more. The first one is who? Yeah, Krishna's there. If you're on his side, they have the weaker army, not as many Okshahinis, but they've got Krishna. Would you rather be with him or with the others? Well, you want to be with Krishna. And number 2, what's that one? The chariot. It was Agni gave it. Conquers everything on all sides. So the Krishna is the first sign of victory. The chariot's a sign of victory. What about the conch shells? Yeah, the sound of the transcendental conch shells. That's a sign. That they heard that and the enemy went, oh, not ordinary conch shells, transcendental. All right. What's the 4th? Goddess of fortune. Wherever good fortune is with Krishna because the goddess of fortune is on his chest. She's Chanchala, everybody wants her, but without Krishna, they won't get her. So good fortune is with them. Who's on the flag? Hanuman. Here's Ram. Right, he helped Ram. What a servitor. So Ram is there too, because if Hanuman's there, Ram's inside. And so Sita. So Ram, Sita, and it's a package deal on the flag. It's absolute. We have a hard time remembering that. It's absolute. Even the words, Prabhupada said these words from the Gita, he said they're not words. They're transcendental sound vibrations. It's just that it's being put on print. It looks like print. It's not print. It's absolute. The word is absolute if it has to do with Krishna. Okay? Everybody got that one? I hope I've got the mic close enough. Okay. All right. Hanuman's on the flag. And what else is good about this war? Yeah, Krishna's the general. He's telling them what to do. Now, who could be a more perfect guide? Anybody better than Krishna? No, Asamurdva. And finally, what's the place? Dharma Kshetra. Right. That's what Dhritarashtra was worried about. It's a holy place. They're pious. It'll probably be in their favor. So we have some good signs of victory here. That's your second topic. What was the second topic? Remember? Signs of victory. Right. And here are 7 of them. Okay? It was helpful. All right. And then we have one extra slide here. Oh, yeah. The 7 stages of destruction of a dynasty. You have this chart in your chart section. So if you want to turn to that now, let's take a look and see that chart. Everybody got it in his thing? So you know what you have, right? Well, here they show 6, but I don't know, by the time I broke down the verse. What happens in the first? The superiors are killed. So in the battle, they're going to do what? They're going to kill everybody. And the superiors are the ones that, number 2, what do? They give the family tradition. If your mother and your father are dead, can they help you? Destruction. So the Vedic rituals stop. That's not good. Number 3. Then what happens? Irreligion predominates. If you don't have religion, you get the opposite, irreligion. And that's not auspicious. And then when you have irreligion, what happens to the ladies who are left alive? They become polluted by the unscrupulous men. And then when they become polluted, what's the result of that? Unwanted progeny. It's flooding the planet. Don't think it isn't. Why do we have so many abortions on the planet? I don't want it. Let's kill it. And if I have to have it, I'm not going to look after it. They don't have the adhikar to perform religious or even make any spiritual advancement. Kali Yuga is heavy, isn't it? Why is the world so hellish? It's all full of unwanted progeny. And then what happens as a result? What's present society? Community projects, family welfare activities are devastated. Even just good things are devastated. There's nothing good about Kali Yuga except the holy name. That's it. Are you all convinced of that? The year 2020, I don't know, on my phone, every time I open the phone, there's another picture of another tragedy. Dukaliyam Shashvatam, huh? Big time. So this is the 4th fear. If I kill the elders, no tradition, no religion, polluted women, Varna Shankara, hellish life for everybody, and all good welfare activities stopped. And future generations also can't be saved because the children, the son, is supposed to deliver the forefathers. And if he's not a good person, he can't. So they suffer. Very sad. That eternally, Arjuna says, I'll suffer eternally for this. Future generations, past generations, not just future. So those are our points on the topics. Okay, everybody know that? And you know where your charts are? The longer ones you can try to memorize, go over, revise these things. Attention goes up. All right. Let us now, Kukshetra, how many people died? Yeah, 64 million. And I got that from the Bhagavad-Gita because sometimes quotes are 64 million, 640 million, and it's coming from, I think it's the Adi Parva. Prabhupada quotes it in the Bhagavad-Gita, first canto. And he quotes it. That's the number. And there were how many survivors? The Pandavas and a few others. 5 Pandavas, Satyaki, Kritik Varma, Ashvatthama, although Ashvatthama, they say he's wandering the planet now, suffering. He's been cursed. Kripacharya and Vishwaketu and Yuyutsu. Okay? 12 out of 640 million. Not so many. Pretty heavy war. The bloodiest battle in history. Bombs are not battle. Bombs just indiscriminate. But these warriors, you go into a battle, either you win or you come out dead. You don't come out alive as a loser. You go in knowing you're either going to get killed or you're going to win. If you ever know a person who's a Kshatriya, they have to win the argument. They'll argue until they win. That's a Kshatriya. He fights till the finish. Okay, does that help you? That's their nature. They have to. You're not going to go in there and compromise. And that's what Arjuna wanted to do. He wanted to compromise. That's not a Kshatriya spirit. All right, I think that's it. So now let's do our, I think we'll do our walk through the verses. We'll go through that. We had some other study techniques, but we got the idea of the symbols. It helps. Let's just show that really quickly. I actually wanted to prove that sign language, some people think what we do is babyish. Let's go quickly. We want to see, we used this before. Ben Franklin said, tell me and what happens? I will forget, guaranteed. Teach me what happens? I may remember. Involve me, what happens? That's why we have to use everything in our capacity. Prabhupada involved people. Go cook. Go to Africa. Play the mridanga. Do something, but engage your senses, because if you don't, Maya will. That fast. The moment you don't engage your senses in Krishna consciousness, you will engage them in sensory activities and get more bodies and suffer. Guaranteed. So don't gamble with your time. Every minute counts. All right, and how do you focus the mind? What are we going to do? We're going to use multisensory. This is something important. This is new slide. There are 3 kinds of communication. What's the first one? The words. How much is that? 7%. Is that very much? No. The voice. How much is that? Right. I can say the word sweet, but I can also say sweet. Doesn't say the same thing, does it? Intonation will tell you more. What's the third one? How much is body? 55% of communication is the body. Proven. You can tell. 55. 7 is only the words. 38 is what? That's why we try to be dramatic. Utsaha, not just, hello, how are you? And what's the next one? Body language. Now let's prove it. In classrooms, there are schools where they have a silent classroom. Now most classrooms, the kids will drive you nuts, and it's a torture chamber. Have you ever been in a classroom like that where the teacher couldn't manage? They have learned how to use signals to manage a class without saying anything. And they've got different ones, but that is true. And there's one chart, the next one, that shows 22 signals. Management hand signals, silent classroom. Try it with kids who are noisy or misbehave. It's great. It works. They know. If I want everybody to stand up, I go like this. If I want to say thank you, I go like this. If I want water, I go. They learn them all. And the teacher says nothing. Sounds good, huh? So is it such a silly idea? No, it's 55% of communication. You get the idea. Everybody? Okay, and here are your retention rates. This was almost 25 years ago. How much for reading a book? 10%. How much for listening to a class? 20%. Guaranteed. Some people will question that. This was 100 years ago. What if I see a picture? Yeah, that's why we put the slides up, to help you. Do the slides help you? Yes. Yeah, you get an image. What if you hear me say something and you see the slide? What happens? 50%. You've got two things going, my ears and my eyes. What if you have four things going? I hear it, I see it, I say it, right, Karabhajana? Yes. And I do what? 70%. How much do you want? Everybody? Convinced? Everybody convinced? And what if I actually go out and do it? I go out the door and I tell somebody else what I just learned. I preach this philosophy. What do I get? Yes, that's why the preachers quote the slokas, right? By Shishika, he just pours out, slokas one after another like it's nothing. They're using it. Use it or lose it. If you don't use it, you'll forget and you'll lose it. And Krishna says, I'm not wasting my time on this guy anymore. Next body, forget it. No human body, no books, nothing. Just let him be let him be a kangaroo in Australia or something like that. Okay? And at the end, what do we want for all this? Information should bring what? Of the heart. Krishna consciousness is an activity of the soul. Not the mind, not the body. So when you walked out, you should feel, I learned something, and this will change my life. These books are life change books. How many people touched this book, and it changed his life? And these are also how to focus the mind, the 6 questions. Who? Who am I? Who am I? What are we doing? Where are we? Why are we doing it? And how do we do it? With what? Loving devotion to please Krishna, that's it. If we're here with any other motive, it means more bodies and more birth and death. The only goal is I should do this exclusively for the pleasure of Guru, Krishna, and my purification. That is bhakti. Okay, and here we have some more pictures like that. Prabhupada, I have a little book, which I had done. Prabhupada asked those questions, so we'll save time. Now let's go through our slokas. Are we ready? Because we have to do the sloka overview really fast. We've got that down. Now turn to your sloka section in your thing. And on the side, take your pen, and we want to make sure you know who's speaking in which one. So I didn't mark these in advance, but in the first one, on the left, we want to put a circle around Dhritarashtra. Put a D and put a circle. Dhritarashtra speaking, the first verse. Okay, do you all find your verses now? Bhagavad-Gita as it is. And we have slides for each one. I just decided to keep it simple this time because I found this was the best way to do a walkthrough, fast. And this is what I call my trigger word, my prompting word. This tells us the essence. What's the word? Kukshetra, louder. Yeah, utsaha, enthusiastic. Remember, boys? You say utsaha, right? That doesn't sound enthusiastic to me, anyway. Utsaha. And there's your sloka. Okay, we're just going to do the words. Because you've heard the verses. Actually, almost every class, they pretty much repeat almost all the verses. That's always there, but you need to know the trigger word. Number 1 is what? Louder. Yes, okay, what's the trigger word number 2? Duryodhana. Okay, so you put another D there. This is a different Duryodhana. He's the antagonist. And actually, I'm sorry, it's Sanjaya who's speaking. So it's S. I'll put S above that, and your trigger word's Duryodhana. Sanjaya is speaking. He's recording this because Dhritarashtra is blind, and Sanjaya has been given the benediction of seeing the battle. He can also read minds. And he has to describe it to a blind man. So that's how we hear the pastime. Arjuna's not down there writing it down. Sanjaya's writing it. Actually, Vyasadev's writing it down. Vyasadev's the speaker. Mahabharata. But he has empowered his disciple to see. He can see everything that's going on. He knows their minds also. And he's explaining to the blind king. So the speaker is Sanjaya, and the key word is what? Duryodhana. Now let's go to the third verse. What's the key word? Teacher. Duryodhana is so worried. I have to go to my teacher and remind him, you were liberal. You taught the person who's going to kill you. Would somebody come to you and say, bless me, because I will kill you? Would you do that? And teach him how to do it? And so Duryodhana is reminding Drona, don't be that lenient again. We'll lose for sure. Teacher. Okay, number 4. Let's do a signal for that one. What's number 4? Now we get we have a comparative list of the two sides. Because any intelligent general has to figure out what's his opponent like. I don't go in there unless I think I could win the battle. So we get an assessment now of the two sides, starting with the Pandavas. So what's the first group? What's your word? The bowmen, right. There are many heroic bowmen in this army. Like who? Yeah, Bhima and Arjuna. These are not ordinary people. And what's the next one? Fighters. They're also great, heroic, powerful what? Fighters. That's your next word, fighters. And not only that, there are some warriors that are good on what? Chariots. If you fight on a chariot, you have to fight on somebody with a chariot. You can't fight on with someone who's on an elephant. You have to have the same carrier. It's against the rules of warfare. Now we contrast. Those are the good guys, the protagonists. He's getting an assessment. Now he's going to compare my men, Duryodhana, because he's actually nervous. I think he thinks he's going to lose. So what does he say now? But for your information, O best of the Brahmanas, let me tell you about my what? Captains. My captains. They're qualified to lead my force. And number 8, and what are they always? Victorious. They're always victorious. I don't just put up their men who are losers. They wouldn't actually be around if they weren't victorious. They'd be dead. They're victorious. Look how many he has. He lists them all. Ashvatthama, Kripa, Bhishma, who was benedicted to be the greatest general ever. He had that benediction. Bhurishrava, they're always victorious. They come out the winners. And he said, and there are many other, what? Heroes. Oh, but here he's indicating he doesn't think he's going to win. Who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. Oh my goodness. That means I don't think I'm going to win. They're all experienced, though, in military science. And now he's saying our strength is immeasurable. He's got the bigger army, he's got the better men, better generals, better everything. But he's saying Grandfather Bhishma's old. So not to discourage Bhishma and to encourage them, he's a diplomat. You stand there and support him. Back him up. Bhishma doesn't really need it, but we have to make sure everybody feels respected. Bhishma. And Bhishma starts roaring. He's playing his conch like the roar of a lion to encourage Duryodhana. Because he knows Duryodhana, don't worry Duryodhana, I'm going to fight to the finish. I didn't say anything during Draupadi being dragged out, but don't worry, I'm a fighter, and I fight to the finish. And he blows his conch shell. And what's the sound of all of these? It's tumultuous. Anybody know the meaning of that word?
A big sound.
Yeah, tumultuous means it's loud. It's a very strong sound. It's not just like shattering. All these conch shells. We can't imagine. Okay? Tumultuous. So you understand how to do this section? That ends this section. Now we get a description of the signs of victory, which we had. Right? Part 2, signs of victory. 14 is the first sign. What is it? The conch shells. And also in the verse we will see the chariots mentioned. Now I put little pictures in there to help you. I broke up the text. So you'll see little wheels, you'll see arrows for Arjuna, you'll see horses. These are all learner-friendly methods. In 15, we see what word? What's our trigger word? Panchajanya. Who's that conch shell belong to? Who? Lord Krishna. Yes, Panchajanya. Panchajanya. And Devadatta is mentioned there. And so is the Pondra. 3 conch shells are mentioned in the 15th verse. Let's go to the next verse now. Who's mentioned here? Yudhisthira, right. He's the one that Krishna wants to see established as the emperor of the world. And you have here, King Yudhisthira, we have 3 verses, 16, 17, and 18. So we have Yudhisthira, Drishtadyumna, he's the general for the protagonists. He's been benedicted to kill Dronacharya, and he does. And finally, we have the word Drupad. Drupad is the father of Draupadi. Drupad. Okay? Those three key words. That's a triple verse there. It's a little harder to read, but I tried to put pictures in to break up the text. Now, what happens to the enemy when they hear the transcendental conch shells? This is important. In verse 19, what happens? Their hearts are shattered. Our conch shells are tumultuous, but their conch shells, they shatter the heart. Okay. And number 20, what's the other sign of victory? Hanuman on the flag. He's on the flag, and he will guarantee that Sita and Ram will also be there, the goddess of fortune and the Lord. And they also won another battle. The other big battles were the Ramayan and the Battle of Kurukshetra. Mataji, are you okay? Are you sure? Okay, I just want to be sure. I have to check. I want to be sure someone doesn't need to go to the doctor or something like that. Okay. She's in ecstasy. Okay, now the third topic is what? Krishna is Bhakta-Vatsal. And how many verses was there? 7. Very good. Some of you have very good memories. 7. All right. Now we have combined verses here. Arjuna is asking Krishna to pull the chariot between what? 2 armies. It's 2 armies, right? Not 3 or 4 or 5. It's 2 armies, Kauravas and Pandavas. And he wants to see those who are here who want to engage in this trial of arms. This is a test. So what's your key word now? Trial. Your 2 words are to and trial. It's a test. Somebody's going to win. Verse 23 now, this is where he has the birds of a feather. Who has come here to please thee what? Evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. He's evil-minded. Dur means bad. Duryodhana. He's the antagonist. And he says now, Sanjaya speaks, O descendant of Bharata, having thus addressed by Arjuna, Lord Krishna, what does Lord Krishna do? He's Bhakta-Vatsal. He's taking orders from Arjuna. That's pretty unusual. He's what you call a rickshawwala. That's not a very prestigious job. Or a taxi driver. Take me into what? The midst of the armies. Yeah, put me on the middle. I want to see who's on both sides. Well, of course he knows by now. But now he's going to get weak-hearted. And now he's noticing what kinds of people are there. My fathers, my grandfathers, my teachers, my uncles, my brothers, sons, grandsons, friends, fathers-in-law, and well-wishers. They're on the other side. I'm supposed to kill them? Is that a very good proposition? Could you do that? And what is the result of that? When he sees everybody, what does he say? Yeah, he's overwhelmed with grief. Compassion. I'm overwhelmed with compassion. And now he speaks. We start the next 19, remember the footmarks? 19 verses here. So we're going to change colors now. I use the color code. Topic 4, quivering. These are bodily symptoms, but not from ecstasy. They're from material fear. Have you ever been so afraid you shook? I have. He's quivering. My body is doing what? It's quivering. He's not joking. And number 30, what does he say? I see only causes for what? Gandiva. I never put my bow down. what happens? The Gandiva slips from his hand. He's that shaken. The great Arjuna. The Gandiva is slipping from my hand. I'm shaking so much. The Gandiva is slipping from my hand. I see only in verse 31. Misfortune. And now what was the second argument? Is there going to be any happiness for me? No. All my relatives will be dead. What can come of this? Victory, kingdom, or happiness? Nothing. Famous combination of 32 to 35. I have 4 words. Repeat them. Govinda. Battlefield. Relatives. And pleasure. Now, I chose the word Govinda because Prabhupada explains that in the purport. Go means senses, and Govinda means one who gives pleasure. So Arjuna is saying, Krishna, you're supposed to give pleasure to my senses. That's why most people go to God. God, please give me a beautiful house, a beautiful wife, beautiful children. They want something, but they don't want to serve God. So he said, but you don't get happy that way. You're not getting happy. You only get pleasure by pleasing Govinda. And where are they? They're on a battlefield, right? And he repeats all the people he sees there. So he repeats it. These are all what are they? They're relatives. And he finally ends with the other item, pleasure, enjoyment. There's no enjoyment in killing relatives. People do things for their relatives. It's called extended self-gratification. It's either concentrated, I do it for myself, or I do it for my family. Some people won't even do it for their families anymore. Okay? Or maybe my country. I'll die for my country. Or maybe the universe. But only when it's Krishna will you get satisfaction. And what will overcome us? Sin. In the third, sin will overcome us if we kill such aggressors. These people, 2 verses now combined, they see no fault in this. I do. But that's not that's not their problem. I see, even though they don't see the crime in this. I do. And he repeats, there are so many names of Krishna. I think in this chapter and in the purports, there are 13 names of Krishna. And about 7 for Arjuna. O Janardhan, that means one who's the maintainer of people. They see no fault in this crime, in destroying a family. Now we have the description from 39 to 42. You might want to bracket that. Put a bracket. 42. The destruction of a dynasty. Destruction of a dynasty. This is what happens, and we went over that chart. The dynasty is destroyed. The women become polluted in the next verse. They have unwanted children, the next verse. And all kinds of welfare work is devastated. And the ancestors that depended on the rituals every year, they're not getting them, and so they remain, if they're in hellish conditions, they're trapped. Very, very sinful, previous and future. But if you're a devotee, and if you're a pure devotee, you can liberate hundreds of generations before and after. So try to become a pure, even an ordinary devotee can liberate 11 generations. But a pure devotee, he can liberate 100 generations before and 100 generations after. So what should we want to be? Pure devotees. You'll do a lot more than just taking care of your family. Think about it. And what is the result in verse 43? Anyone who does that. He destroys family traditions. He dwells always where? In hell. I'm going to be in hell forever for this, Krishna. And he says, how strange it is that we're preparing to do what? Killing our own kinsmen. Right? Just for the sake of some kind of happiness. Killing our kinsmen. Now he's going to say in 45, better for me to die what? Unarmed and unresisting. I'm just going to stand there and let them kill me. I'm going to be a pacifist. That's not a Kshatriya spirit. And the final word is what? Grief. Sanjaya speaks again. You can put an S by the side here. Sanjaya speaks quite a few verses here. Sanjaya said, Arjuna, having thus spoken on the battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrow and sat down on the chariot. He cast aside his Gandiva bow. He put it down. His mind overwhelmed with grief. Okay, did that help you? You know how to walk through the verses now. You saw the slide and the color. All right. Now we're going to do our quick historical, very fast. We're going to put some music on, and we're going to take a trip along the Saraswati River. We'll hear some background river music to get the mood music. And we're going to see proof of 4 things that can be verified. Because if somebody said, oh, the Bhagavad-Gita is mythology, the Mahabharata's mythology, Saraswati's mythology, you should have the evidence to tell them, I'm sorry, you're wrong. So the first is our historical review. Let's take a quick trip now, and our first one will be, next slide quickly. Right. This will be history now. We're saying history, we're not saying mythology. Next slide. This is Kurukshetra, and these are all of the holy things that have taken place there. They are holy tirthas. We have slides quickly for each one. Saraswati River, Jyotisar, where the Gita was spoken, Brahma Sarovar is there, Samantaka Panchaka is there, the Banganga is there, the Karna Dvada, where Karna was killed, is there, Parasara Dwaipa, I think that's where, I forgot where that one was. That's where he's killed, right? And where Prithu Maharaj, that's where sacrifices were taken. Chakravyuha, where Abhimanyu was killed, that's there. And Dadichi, where Dadichi's bones. Look at all those 11 places, historical sites. It's not just Kurukshetra, it's just a myth. You can go see them. They're there. Okay, let's take a quick look at that. We're going to look at some slides. That's Kurukshetra. Next one. That's the origin. It's there. They even have signs. Next. You can go there. The tree is there. They have the figure there, Krishna Arjuna. It's still there. Next. Brahma Sarovar. People go there still. It's at certain holy times for benedictions. Next. This is where the Kshatriyas were killed and rivers of blood. This is called the Samanta Panchaka. This is there. Next. Yes, Prithu, what did he do? Oh, he performed a sacrifice for his father there. Next. When Bhishma was on the bed of arrows, he was thirsty. Arjuna shoots an arrow, and that pond is there. Next. The chariot wheel, the ground where the Karna got off. He had to get out. He had to lift the chariot. Krishna said, "Kill him now." That's against the warfare, but Krishna ordered him. He said, "No, I'm not. I'm off my chariot. You can't. Get rid of him." Next, yes, this is where Duryodhana at the lake, where the two of them fought. clubs. One was the better fighter, one was stronger. It kept going. Next. This is the Chakravyuha where Abhimanyu knew how to get in, but he couldn't get out. I think it took 7 generals to try to kill him. And he, a 16-year-old boy, killed many, many people inside. It was totally against. After that, Krishna said, forget the rules. Forget the rules. It was just carnage after that. That was on the 13th day. Next, Indra fashions his thunderbolt from there. Do you think Kurukshetra is just an ordinary place now? Next, Arjuna slays Jayadrata there. That's marked with a chakra. That's there. They don't put these up just to attract the tourists. And finally, later, historically, later, when Krishna goes to Kurukshetra, the gopis from Vrindavan come to meet him there. This is the height of separation. And when we ever have the festival of the chariots, why do we have that festival? So Lord Jagannath can go to Vrindavan. That's what that means. Vrindavan. Okay? And this is why we are here. I don't know if you know this. Prabhupada was at Kurukshetra chanting. I tried to find the article. I had it years ago when I made the slide. I couldn't find it again. It was Back to Godhead. One lady, a pious Indian lady, sees the sadhu chanting. And people in India, what do they want? Blessings. Blessings. So she goes up to Prabhupada and she and addresses herself. Give me your blessings. She says, if you ever need help, I will help you. Who gave him the money to come to America? Yes, she even gave him money to print one of his Bhagavatam, Canto 3. And she didn't want to, but she sponsored the ship on which Prabhupada went to America and gave us these books. We are sitting here because of that meeting at Kurukshetra. Why is Kurukshetra famous now? Because of Prabhupada. Would any of us know all this? I wouldn't know anything. Okay, and I forgot to bring it along with me, but I have a leaf from the tree. You can go there now, and that tree is still there. It's being protected. It was dying, but now they're protecting the tree. Did you like that visit to Kurukshetra? Okay, and there's the tree, sacred banyan tree at Jyotisar. It's there. Okay. Now, very quickly, I think we have another one with what other historical review because we want to get through. Yeah, Dwarka. Krishna is God? Ah, no. He's just a Dwarka. The land of the Atlantis of the East. It's under the water. Still. Let's take a look. It's proof. Don't think this is a myth. Quickly. Truth. Quickly. Next one. Yes. Those are the islands. This is Rao. He was the one who sponsored that research. He disappeared. And all the people who were on his team, they disappeared. The government didn't want them to know anymore. He disappeared. He's famous. He disappeared. They stopped all of the research. But these are pictures. There he is with his divers. Quickly, let's go. Come on, Nabai. We have to. This is Dwarka, and these are the islands there in that little curve. There's the boat that they took, and there they're going down. And underwater, you'll see the pictures now. Quickly, Abai. We have to move fast. There they are. It's there. It's still there. Look at that. The walls, the gateways. It's there. There they are. Look at that. Big stones. And these are some of the relics from their anchors. Wait till you see this one, an anchor's there. The little chariot. Oh, the bell. And this is adorable. They found this, a bronze chariot. Now, the fish didn't make that. Didn't just fall in the water. Some kid lost his toy. No. Coins. Now, also, this is a famous devotee, and he writes Forbidden History. And he talks about this also. Forbidden history. People don't want to know. It might make you think you have to believe in a God. That's why. Okay, next. That's the tour to, we went now to Kurukshetra, now we went to Dwarka to prove Krishna is God. And what else do we have here to show as proof? Oh, yeah, the Mahabharata, right? The Mahabharata Myth. Okay, this is an American scholar. He's not a devotee. He's a scholar who studies software. He studies astrological combinations. He proved that every date in the Mahabharata can be confirmed by software. He proved it. 14 mentions in the Mahabharata, he found every one of them matched software. What's the sky like? Okay? And quickly we will see where he narrows it down to the date. He can confirm the date exactly when the war started. So quickly, let's go. And the Bhishma Parva, and there were 2 meteors, 2 in the sky, inauspicious. 1 is bad, 2 is really bad. 2 meteors sighted, come at the earth like fiery balls. Next, see them both? Inauspicious. 640 million are about to die. Next, Saturn was in a certain, at Aldebaran. Next, Mars, inauspicious planet. And another one I think is, what's the other one? Oh yeah, then the moon, was it the day or the night? And next, this he dates it at 3067 BC. That's been confirmed by others. Now, quickly, we have some more slides on that. He's got the date. And amazingly, the day that in America the Twin Towers burned down, remember? It was the same configuration, identical. Inauspicious, identical. So planets don't lie. Okay? And there's the Twin Towers. 2 towers go down on the same configuration. And then this is, of course, Sadaputa, right? Sadaputa. He also is departed. Okay, is that it for evidence? Okay, now let us, I think, what is it?
18 days.
Oh, that. Let's go through the war now really quickly and we'll end with that. And we'll have some war music for this one. The slides are old, it doesn't say much, but you can see some days they win, the other days the other side will win. Back and forth and back and forth. So let us go quickly, and you got your music on, bye? Okay, and don't be afraid to make it a little louder because we're not really having to read too much, but you just need to get in the mood. What this war was like. "18 day-by-day summary. First day, Pandavas lose. Next day, Kauravas lose. It goes back and forth. Third day, celestial weapons. Fourth day, Bhishma advises Duryodhana, seek peace. Fifth day, Bhima rescues Satyaki. Sixth day, defeat of the Kauravas now. Seventh day, victory of the Kauravas. Back and forth, back and forth. Defeat of the Kauravas again. Arjuna stops Krishna from killing Bhishma. Bhishma advises Yudhisthira to use Shikhandi. Shikhandi's a unit. I'm not going to kill a woman. So Arjuna stays behind. This is starting to break the rules a little bit. 10th day, what happens? Yeah, it's not really the death, but he's off the battlefield. Actually, tomorrow's the day he leaves. Tomorrow's the Sankranti. So it's appropriate, because tomorrow, the sun moves to the north. Makara Sankranti. 11, what happens? Arjuna defeats Drona. The battle of Arjuna and Bhagavad-Gita. I don't know so much about that personality. I never read the Mahabharata. I'm just... 13th, what happens that day? Abhimanyu. After that, this was really sad. Next, death of who? Jayadratha. Drishtadyumna kills Drona. The prophecy is fulfilled. By saying Ashvatthama, Yudhishthira says, Ashvatthama, the elephant is dead. Drona sits there, my son. Kill him now. Oh, heavy. Next. Bhima kills Dushashana. Oh, he's the one. I'm drink his blood, right? Arjuna kills Karna, his brother. Karna had the most unfortunate life. Poor Karna. Death of who? Duryodhana, 18th day. This one, I don't know so much about this personality, but he had the benediction. He could have ended the war in 1 minute, but Krishna didn't want it. He wanted everybody to fight it out. Did you like that? Okay, thank you so very much. That's our historical walkthrough. And remember, we should always be grateful for what Srila Prabhupada has given us. Hare Krishna.